Shavua Tov and good morning. Continuing the halachot of Yom Tov, but just before we begin, a moment to reflect on the incredible miracles that we, the Jewish people, are so lucky to be alive to be able to see. The words of our prophets, of our enemies being crushed in front of us. And Bezrat Hashem, we will be able to be victorious with no more casualties, no more damage, and really the words of Bil'am, which we're going to read in just a few weeks' time. Hin'am kelavi yakum. We are a nation which arise like a cub and like a lion. Operation Rising Lions, which Bil'am says lo yishkav ad yochal teref, that we won't rest until we completely devour our enemies. And for our brothers and sisters in Israel who are performing the physical destruction of our enemies, what's left for us is the spiritual destruction of them. And that we do, as Rashi there on the Pasuk tells us, is by grabbing and getting up quickly and rising like a lion to do the mitzvot, talit, tefillin, the Shema, and all the other mitzvot which we can do. That's all we can do here. As we watch the incredible miracles which HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrates through the courage and bravery of Chayalei Tzva Hagana Yisrael. So we discussed last week about showering both on Shabbat and on Yom Tov, in cold water and in hot water. We explained the differences on Yom Tov between hot water heated before Yom Tov and hot water heated on Yom Tov. And there is something here which is worthwhile mentioning at this point, which ties into what we've been discussing, and that's the use of a mikveh on Shabbat and Yom Tov, but Shabbat more. And that is, mikveh is open on Shabbat, both for men on Shabbat morning and for women on Friday night. And the question is based on what we've learned. Certainly on Shabbat, we learned that it's prohibited for a person to bath in hot water, even if it's water heated from before Shabbat. How is it possible for a man to go to the mikveh on Shabbat morning, even though the water was heated from before Shabbat, or for a woman to go to the mikveh on Friday night, even when the water was heated from before Shabbat? We just learned that it's not permissible to do so. So this was a big discussion, and there are different approaches to this. One approach is that, indeed, it's not permissible for men to go to the mikveh on Shabbat. That is one approach given, that since there's not an intrinsic mitzvah for a man to go to the mikveh on Shabbat, it's prohibited for a man to do so. A woman, though, is a mitzvah, and in this the Hachamim won't go there, and therefore a woman may go to the mikveh on Friday night. That's approach number one, which was the approach of the Vilna Gaon and the Noda Bihuda, amongst others. The second approach is that the Hachamim forbade bathing in hot water. Lukewarm water is permissible. And lukewarm water, discussion what exactly lukewarm water means, but it's somewhere under 37 degrees. And so, according to this approach, yes, hot water is forbidden, but lukewarm water is permissible. And lukewarm water under 37 degrees is permissible, and according to that, a man can go to the mikveh, and a woman can go to the mikveh in such water. Third approach was that Hachamim forbade bathing and showering. A immersion, though, in the mikveh is not rechitza. The Hachamim forbade the rechitza. Rechitza means to bathe, to shower. An immersion in the mikveh, either on Shabbat morning or on Friday night, is what we call a tevilah. A tevilah is different to rechitza. Tevilah is a dip. It's to immerse in and out. It's not to shower, it's not to bathe. And this, the prohibition of the Hachamim never applied, because the Hachamim forbade the rechitza. Tevilah is dipping in and out, and that is permissible. And based on that, one can even dip in hot water, as long as it was obviously boiled, heated before Shabbat. One can even dip in hot water. And so, generally speaking, the mikvahot are hot, higher than lukewarm water, and the people are relying on this third approach, that it's not considered an immersion, it's not considered a rechitza, washing, it's considered dipping oneself in. But 2 points should be mentioned with that. Firstly, is that even if one takes this approach, one must be very careful that if one does do so on Shabbat, one doesn't linger in the mikveh, one literally goes in and out. To go into the mikveh and to spend a few moments there just to relax, And to enjoy the heat would certainly be prohibited if it's hot water. And secondly, it's worthwhile also mentioning that Hamvadia writes that Sfaradim, where possible, should go to the mikveh on Friday night, ben hashmashot, meaning before nightfall. Although generally speaking, women are meant to go to the mikveh after nightfall on an ordinary night of the week. On Friday night, though, they should try to go to the mikveh after sunset, but before nightfall, because like this, even according to the approaches which states not permissible, because it's ben hashmashot, because it's twilight and it's for the tzorech mitzvah, for the purposes of a mitzvah, it would be permissible. And therefore, to conclude, we've seen different approaches with regards to immersing tevilah on Shabbat, and some prohibit it outright for men and only for women. But the general approach is to be lenient with this and to assume that Hachamim forbade bathing and not immersing, but women, when they have the opportunity to do so, for Sfaradim at least, should go to the mikveh on Friday night before nightfall and thus be able to immerse in hot water. Otherwise, men should try to immerse in lukewarm water on Shabbat.